Let's talk some sports, baby.
And remember, make tomorrow better than today and make today better than yesterday. And you know what we gonna do. We gonna holler at you until next time, baby.
All right, fellas, this weekend was packed wall-to-wall with NFL Wild Card action. 6 games commenced from Saturday afternoon to Sunday night with quite the mix of expected results and shocking upsets. Let's go ahead and recap the action, and we'll start back here in the AFC with the Buffalo Bills, who won their first playoff game in 25 years. Josh Allen led the way with 3 touchdowns and a 27-24 defeat of the Colts. The Bills nearly blew a 24-10 lead late in the fourth quarter, but Jordan Poyer batted down possibly the last pass Phillip Rivers will throw in the NFL, securing the win. So, Jay, maybe the Bills could have been more convincing, but hey, win's a win, right?
It is a win. And when you haven't seen such an outcome in 25 years, you'll gladly take it. I'm sure that they did. And I as you well know, I picked Indianapolis in this game, so I'm not really surprised that it was competitive. And Indianapolis, they looked like the better team in the first half. They had that sequence that ended the first half where Frank Reich was super aggressive. He goes for it on 4th and goal from the 4, and Phillip Rivers just a little bit off target to Michael Pittman. And then Buffalo goes on a 96-yard drive to end the half. That was kind of the swing point in that game in my mind. But Indianapolis, they made a run late in the game that ultimately came up a little short. I really didn't like how they managed that last drive. It was just not very well put together. Your rookie kicker also misses, somewhat of a field goal he probably should make. So Indianapolis, I think they left some plays out on the field. I think if you ask Frank Reich today, should they have won that game, he'd probably tell you yes. He of course, he made a couple decisions where he, people somewhat will say, maybe he was a little bit too aggressive there. But I love the way Frank Reich coaches. I love how he absolutely, in my mind, coaches to win. Just came up a little short in this regard. But give credit to the Buffalo Bills. They did enough. Josh Allen, he had a really great performance. Making all types of great throws on the run. The chemistry he has with Stephon Diggs. It's probably a top 3 connection right now in the NFL, probably. And it's a well-deserved win for Buffalo. They were just good enough to advance. They're going to have to continue that because Baltimore is going to come. They're going to come for them next week.
To answer the question, yes, a win is a win. But listen, here's the deal. I'm glad I was on the right side of this game. I would have liked Buffalo to win a little more convincingly, but listen, it's new. You know what I'm saying? Savor it. Bring it in a little bit. Enjoy the armies. Either way, what I did like, though, and leave it to Josh Allen to show up when I don't want to, gas him up, right? Gas him up, he laterals to the referee. I don't gas him up, look at this, 26 for 35, 3. Man, forget you. Then he 11 carries for 54 yards. Now, this dude was balling. He was balling. Just because I ain't saying no Diggs. Clearly, listen, folks, I'm going to tell you right now. If you don't think a wide receiver could change your whole offense, you better go talk to Dallas about Amari Cooper and Stephon Diggs and Buffalo about Stephon Diggs. There's no way you're going to tell me that Buffalo looked at anywhere like they looked this year without Stephon Diggs last year. Stephon Diggs, he made some money for himself with this move. It was probably one of the smartest things he did was ask to get out of Minnesota because he is, man, like Jay said, top 3 connections. Them two are cooking. They were cooking. I would like to see a little more out of Devin Singletary. I think with that offensive line, I just felt like they was going to be able to run a little more, but it is the coach. So I ain't bashing them. I mean, we know the coach play defense, and we seen it. They play defense. It took some razzle-dazzle, snooking foots from Josh Allen. We seen the shot put throw that he just threw out of nowhere, and Knox caught it. It was crazy. And in the work, in the words of Cody, it was Josh Allen doing Josh Allen things. And I looked at it and I'm like, yo, come on, he about to pull this. Either way, it was a fantastic win. Congratulations. Now you got to buckle up and you got to get ready for Baltimore. A different change of pace. That team is going to bring different elements that the Colts couldn't bring. So you gotta tighten up and get ready for that. But it was a good win, very competitive game. And for all the crap I give Phillip Rivers, hey man, listen, you could have went out worse. I wasn't overly upset with your performance. I'm still not a fan of you, but I wasn't overly upset at the performance. I thought the wide receivers, I did give them crap because I just didn't feel like they had all that impressive of a wide receiver core. They played better than I thought. And that run game, to Jay's credit, 27 carries for 153 yards and a touchdown between Jonathan Taylor and Naheem Hines, I think his name. Yep. Between those two guys, look, hell of a game, it's just one of them tough. Somebody got to win, somebody got to lose because there ain't no ties in postseason. I love it, and we'll see what we get this weekend.
Yeah, pretty much same thoughts here. I think with Josh Allen, when you look at him, I think the biggest difference we saw was the decision making. Like I texted y'all after that one shovel pass, whatever it was, to the end zone, and I was like, I saw it happen, and I said, oh my God, here comes some Josh Allen bullcrap. And then it was like, oh, it worked. Okay, never mind. Like, and that was kind of like the difference in the whole game. Josh Allen always made the right decision. He looks like he has matured so much. We always knew he could throw the ball out of the stadium and throw it through someone's chest and out the other side and all that. We knew that even out of coming out of college. But like the decision making and his ability to make his reads and make the right play, man, it's amazing to watch how much he grew up this season and from last year and the bad decisions to now. If it wasn't there, he didn't take it. If he needed to run, he took off. He made the right throws. He took his checkdowns when he needed. It was a great performance, and they needed it because even with all that, the Colts were able to still get back in the game. I felt Phillip Rivers played better than I thought he would in this game. I thought the Bills defense was going to eat him up. And like you said, I didn't think this wide receiving core had enough to help him out. Michael Pittman Jr. is going to be a really good player. They're going to have to get a little younger at that position. Otherwise, T.Y. Hilton's definitely a shell of what he used to be. And they're going to have to find, another guy to go with Pittman. I think that'll be high on their priority in the offseason. But they got the running backs figured out. Jonathan Taylor's a stud. Hines is a great change of pace. It's just a little too short. And, like Jay said, it was just missed opportunities. You made one or two plays you had to have. You didn't get them. And, well, that's how the playoffs break. And it was a valiant effort, but moral victories are what they are. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the second game. That game also didn't disappoint. The Baltimore Ravens rode their momentum into Nashville. They smothered Derrick Henry and escaped with a 20-13 win over the Titans. Lamar Jackson threw for 179 yards, rushed for 136 more, and rallied the team from a 10-point hole to earn his first playoff win. 2,000-yard rusher Derrick Henry was mauled by the Ravens defense all day, and the rest of the offense couldn't really get anything jump-started. So, Drink, it's a big win for the Ravens, but who's more to credit, Lamar Jackson or the defense?
Lamar Jackson. Listen, when you look at the stats of this game once it's over, this game laid out the way pretty much how I explained it last week. I said Baltimore go back to their old offense where it's Lamar Jackson running everywhere. 16 carries for 136 yards and a touchdown. So clearly he was running around. Now, 179 yards through the air and one interception. He looked at that and said, listen, it's time for me to change up something. What I like is they did exactly what they needed to do. Stop Henry, 18 carries for 40 yards. That's pretty successful at stopping Henry. And then you made Ryan Tannehill try to beat you. He only threw one touchdown and one interception. So you implemented the plan you needed to implement. And I think, the game was still a winnable game for Tennessee, but you gave yourself a chance. It wasn't like last year where you got Derrick Henry running all over you, and now Lamar Jackson got to throw it 50 times. I'm okay with Lamar Jackson. 24 attempts, take that all day and twice on Sunday. And you get the dub too. So I wasn't mad. I thought the defense played well. I'm going to give this win to Lamar Jackson because if they would have lost, I would have gave the loss to Lamar Jackson. So I got to give him credit. He finally got over that hump, won him a playoff game. We'll see next week, I'll say. We'll see this weekend how that goes. But, shout out to Marquise Brown. 7 receptions for 109 yards. Listen, I was about ready to label Marquise Brown somewhat of a bust. He just wasn't hitting on nothing since he's been wearing a Ravens uniform. He finally showed a little glimpse of life in this game, it seems. So, I like that. And listen, AJ Brown, he played decent as I see with the stats. But at the end of the day, this is what I said. Baltimore was going to have to run the ball and use some of their old offense more than this whole, we want to make Lamar a passer type deal that they had going on. And I think that's their identity. Like that whole making him a passer thing, that's not your identity. I understand this don't work in today's NFL, blah, blah, blah. But your identity is your identity. And your identity is better when Lamar Jackson feels comfortable in his legs. And then you scheme some things and he throws to Andrews, he throws it to Brown, he throws it to Snead, find Dez Brown when you're in the red zone, whatever the case might be. That's when they're at their best. So, yeah, I think this game played out the way it played, and I'm going to give the credit to Lamar Jackson.
I think Lamar Jackson deserves a lot of credit for his performance, but I do disagree. I think the Baltimore Ravens, I would give them a little bit more credit because I mean they had it was an outstanding.
Were you talking about the defense?
Yes, I'm talking about the defense. Their defense was outstanding. They did get off to a little bit of a slow start. Tennessee on their second drive, they marched right down the field. It looked rather easy. They had their next drive was a field goal. Luckily, Baltimore was able to tighten up in the red zone. It was 10-0, and you had a sense that maybe it could be Baltimore could be in trouble once again. We did say whichever team gets out to a lead, it's going to be their advantage. But even when they got down, Derrick Henry, he never got loose. And once the Ravens kind of settled down, Lamar Jackson made that one hideous interception. That Malcolm Butler was, more than happy to reel in. His first interception, by the way, since that Russell Wilson goal line interception. I can still see Richard Sherman's face in absolute horror in that moment. But this Baltimore defense, they just did a tremendous job. And when you think about, what Wink Martindale's defense, what happened to them in the divisional round last season, they must have somewhat held a grudge. They took and then in the regular season they lost 30-24 in overtime. Derrick Henry I believe he had the game-winning touchdown in that one. So they came out in my mind, they came out to prove a point. They proved it. 18 carries for 40 yards. No, I mean, nobody does that to Derrick Henry. And then of course, it's just I'm absolutely pleased to report that when Derrick Henry gets shut down, Ryan Tannehill does not look like the $30 million man that he's being paid. So I'm absolutely pleased that that occurred. And by the way, and just to go back to Lamar Jackson, he was splendid. They had him it was the same kind of thing, same kind of feel as last year. Some of those design quarterback runs, he just wasn't getting loose. But eventually, a broken play, a drop back pass, they lose, contain a little bit. He finds a seam, and next thing you know, he's gone for a 48-yard touchdown that tied the game up. But the Tennessee offense, after they scored those initial 10 points, they couldn't do anything, and they couldn't run the ball. And really outside of AJ Brown, there wasn't a lot going on for their receivers. Corey Davis, he didn't play much in this game. But yes, when Marcus Peters gets that interception and they dancing all over the logo, I was all for that. I was all for the pettiness of that situation. Thank you, Baltimore, for getting these frauds out of here.
I want to be objective here, and I really don't want to, say anything. No, I'm kidding. I was absolutely giddy watching the Ravens square dance all over that logo. Thank you. No, I'll be real. I was, again, ultimately
he is being real.
The Baltimore defense. Like, we have to understand, Derrick Henry would have been the third or fourth leading rusher in the country by just the second half stats. Like, that's how ridiculous he was and how much he snowballed. But he never got started. I mean, he literally never. I mean, every time he got a run, you had 3 or 4 Ravens just shedding blocks, running through the line. And we heard all towards the end of the year, oh, he's running without any all-pros on the offensive line. Well, maybe they needed 1 or 2, because it looks like when a premier defensive line, who actually was finally getting healthy, guys like Campbell been in and out, there's been a couple other dudes, your man Derek Wolfe was a big contributor. I mean, there's a bunch of guys in that line that are really talented, and they finally all got healthy and everything kind of hit at the same time. And man, they were just dominant. And it goes back to the problem that Tennessee has right now is they kind of are built off this being a big physical football team, but only one half of the ball participates. The defense is just bad. I mean, they're just not a very good defense. And I mean, the Ravens aren't the most electric, ridiculous, high-flying offense ever, but even they were able to manufacture the points, and they just didn't have enough athletes to keep up with Lamar Jackson. Once he started getting loose, that was it. And then it snowballed, because as a team, the Baltimore Ravens, they ran 35 times for 236 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's good for 6.7 a rush. I mean, that's disgusting. And that's what we kind of thought coming in could be the difference maker, was that Tennessee defense just not being up to snuff. His offense, as long as Henry does his thing, is very hard to beat. But if you shut him down, you got Ryan Tannehill and A.J. Brown. And I've been told that's the best thing ever. But I don't know. I just saw it and I'm still not impressed. I'll give A.J. Brown, though, credit. He's pretty good. I don't think he's healthy. So little respect there. But other than that, yeah. Y'all can get up out of here. All right, let's go ahead and go to the last game of the night. And, this one was by far the most shocking. The Cleveland Browns, yes, those Browns, they marched into Heinz Field, defied all the odds, and waxed the Pittsburgh Steelers 48-37. The nightmare started for Pittsburgh on the first snap. The center Marquise Pouncey's snap flew over Big Ben into the end zone, where it was smothered by a Cleveland defender. The disaster continued as mistakes piled up. And the more, harder that Pitt pressed to dig out of the hole, it just got worse. While Ben was able to throw for over 500 yards, he also threw 4 picks, which sunk any comeback hopes. The Browns win their first playoff game since 1995 on the road at a division rival they never beat without their head coach. Jay, that's pretty storybook stuff. What on earth happened?
Yeah, storybook. Thank you for throwing that in. I'm so touched by this, Cinderella story, so to speak. This was by far, I can't believe how disgusted I was with this. You realize, it's one thing, and I'm not giving Cleveland a whole lot of credit in this one. I'm not. They capitalized off of a bunch of mistakes, but by and large, Pittsburgh gift wrapped this game to them. It's like they we're doing an early January Christmas as well. Pittsburgh, you can't. I have never seen a team play a worse quarter of football than that first quarter. That was the worst quarter of football I have ever seen a team play. And it's just shocking when you consider at one point this team was 11-0. Continue. I mean, it's not like everyone just, they had just the most horrendous, injury luck. I mean, they got a few guys in and out, but that happens. Every team's dealing with some sort of injury issues at this time. But they just, as the season progressed, they just never found a running game. It's, James Conner and these guys can't do it. Pouncey, DeCastro, Villanueva, Matt Fowler. It's offensive line. It's still a proud offensive line up there. It's not like they just can't play anymore, but they just can't figure out how to run the ball. So now Big Ben's just back there throwing it 50, 60 times. But when you make that many mistakes that early, and then Cleveland, to their credit, they capitalized on every one of them. And next thing you know, some people haven't even sat down yet, fully looking at what's going on, and it's 28-0. And I mean, it's hard to overcome that. They made a run, but it just, Mike Tomlin had a 4th and 1 around midfield. Pittsburgh had momentum at that point in the second half, and he elected to pump the ball. And next thing you know, Nick Chubb's taking a screen pass to the house. That was Pittsburgh's chance to, keep the pressure on and keep the momentum, and they gave it up. And Cleveland, they took advantage of it yet again. But I mean, Pittsburgh, this was just beyond disappointing the way this season ended. And, I love Mike Tomlin, and I like this Pittsburgh team. I have to use Pittsburgh and live vicariously through them because Denver's so bad. But this is disappointing, and Pittsburgh's better than this. And I think, they gotta take a look at what went wrong, and they gotta get back to the physicality and the old brand of Steeler football, where they, punch people in the mouth at the line of scrimmage. And they just, as the season wore on, they did that less and less. And when you play one-dimensional with a quarterback approaching, 40 years of age, that's just a lot to ask. That's just a lot to ask of him. And it just did not turn out in their favor on this day.
I'm glad they called the Pittsburgh Steelers, because that's exactly what they did. Stole our precious time coming out here with that bull crap. That's what they did. Listen, what are we doing here? Mike Tomlin. And I said, you know what? Remember what I said? I said this team had a propensity to just play like they so up and down. They haven't been consistent all year. And then you come in here and you just lay an egg. Yeah, I got what the final score was, but everybody that watched that game know damn well this game wasn't that close. So don't give me the bull. And if you want to tell, oh, well, Big Ben threw for 501 yards on 68 attempts. Oh, don't forget about them 4 interceptions he threw the other way too. Like, this is like, this game was, it was ever a game for a team, the winning team, to get overhyped. Because it sounds kind of crazy when you be like, oh, man, this team is overhyped, but they won the game. Cleveland is overhyped. They about to go and get smacked up by the Kansas City Chiefs. I'll tell you that right now. I didn't see, the only thing I seen that gave me like some glimpse, because it wasn't Baker Mayfield. I'm telling you right now, I ain't sold on Baker Mayfield. I don't want to hear that bull crap. But Nick Chubb still ran well, so at least you still got that going for yourself. I mean, did he score a touchdown? No, but I do like the 76 points. The 76 yards against this Pittsburgh Steelers defense. They still play defense when they want to, I guess. I don't know. But all in all, man, like I was just, they gotta find a way to be consistent. They need somebody. I'm not saying like Mike Tomlin need to be fired, and I'm not saying that, but they need somebody to drop the hammer. They need a Tom Coughlin or something. Somebody just run around here creating hate and just discontent and like, let's line it up and do what you're supposed to do, because look at this mess, man. This is unacceptable. You was way too good to come out here with this mess. Way too good. This is not like overachieving. Like, you guys was good. You had a good defense. You had a good quarterback. You had a good wide receiver core. All right, running back core left a little to be desired, but okay. But the rest of the team was playing phenomenal. And then you showed this is what you do on Wild Card weekend. So yeah, I was over it. They should get robbed for stealing our time with this bull crap.
Yeah, I mean, it's an easy thing to just think, oh, the Browns deserve no credit for this at all. But I mean, yeah, I think 3 of the interceptions actually came when the game was still like within reason. 3 of those interceptions came within like the first quarter and then the very beginning of the second quarter. So it's even more an excuse. Well, I can see in the fourth quarter, if you're down by 28 and you're just throwing up whatever crap, you're running 4 verts every play. But like, they were bad picks. I mean, they weren't just like, oh, oops, it tipped off someone and tipped 3 times and the guy caught. They was just like, oh, I'm just gonna throw it to the guy wearing orange and white. Like, oops. Like
the first two were just airmails. Like, you just threw them way too high and they bounce off a dude's fingers and they're easy.
The first play of the game, you go down 7-0. Like, oh crap. Okay, well, we lost the coin toss then, basically. Oh well, just go down the field. We'll score, tie it up, whatever. We'll just start from 0 from there. But then you throw a pick on that drive. It just cascaded from there, and then it was just so far behind. It was just ridiculous to watch the rest of the game. Prevent defense and whatever else. And what disappoints me the most is, the Steelers were really famous this year for all the TikTok and all the nonsense and Juju's dancing and all the clownery on social media. But after they go out there and get absolutely waxed by little brother, they're still talking about that kind of crap. They're saying, oh, well, yeah, they won, but then that's not really what happened. Or like, they're still like parading around. Like, just tuck your tail between your legs, say you got absolutely smoked by a team you shouldn't have lost to, and like cut the crap. Because like Drink said, like someone's got to be out here like spreading nails on the field and something, because this isn't Steelers football. And I don't think it's Mike Tomlin, but I think that they need to start considering moving on from Big Ben. I would be absolutely drafting his replacement this year. And I don't know, give him one more year. You want to bring the band back together. You still have your window, but it's getting about time, I think, to move on.